The private sector of renewable energy did not have a global voice, a global body which could represent them in international organizations like IRENA. My guest will tell us how they created this global body, what they have done so far, and what is their plan for the future. So stay with us.
We're here and we're going to talk about solar and renewables and what's happening in the market.
We can start very simply.
Exactly. The world is already investing more than $1 billion per day. The solar revolution around the world is happening.
There was nobody to gather all the voices together and define a target or a slogan, and also to lobby with something like IRENA.
COP21 in 2015 in Paris, and that is where the Global Solar Council was born to represent the interests of the solar industry in all of those global policy making systems.
In COP27, wind and solar came together.
And then last year, the Global Renewables Alliance was created, representing all renewables technologies and being able to speak as one voice as the global renewables sector. So we secured for the first time ever a global renewables target at COP28 in Dubai, triple up and double down.
Previous years, the COPs actually have been held already, but the people of the society, the people of the countries didn't hear a clear target and they didn't sense it, they didn't have feeling with it. But after Global Solar Council was founded and later Global Renewables Alliance, and with you and your colleagues' effort, that slogan, double down, triple up, it was very popular.
Roughly, it means about 11 terawatts of total installed capacity for all renewable technologies by 2030.
11,000 gigawatts, yeah?
11,000 gigawatts.
What is the next phase?
The next phase.
Time for action. What do you mean? Action for government or for what?
So for all renewable technologies, we need to act in 4 different ways. It's the cost of finance, it's the simplicity of the permitting, and it's the grid. We need to make sure that no country is left behind in the global solar revolution and the global renewables revolution, the global energy transition. Double down, triple up, and time for action.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, everybody. We are here in Abu Dhabi before IRENA Assembly, actually 14th IRENA Assembly, if I'm right. And our guest is Sonia Dunlop, and she is the CEO, Chief Executive Officer. Actually, it's a little difficult to talk in front of a British woman for English language, but I try. She's the CEO of Global Solar Council and also Vice Chair of Global Renewables Alliance. Thank you to come to us.
Thank you, Mohammed.
Yeah, Sonia, may I ask? It's for a lot of people, it's a new name, Global Solar Council. What does it mean? Is it an association? How was it founded?
So we are the World Solar PV Industry Association. The Global Solar Council is the representative body for the 5 million people and the 20,000 companies that work in the solar photovoltaic industry all over the world. So we bring together the solar PV industry in the Middle East, but also in Asia, in Europe, in America, in Africa, in Latin America. And we bring us together for our common goal, which is, of course, increasing solar deployment all over the world, representing the large-scale utility-scale solar, but also commercial rooftop solar, industrial rooftop solar, residential rooftop solar, and, of course, off-grid solar in parts of the world that don't have electricity grid.
Sonia, you mean it's like a organization or a body it's like body for a lot of associations and maybe some companies.
Exactly. So we have both national and regional solar PV industry association members. For example, like MESIA, the Middle East Solar Industry Association, Solar Power Europe in Europe, the Asia PV Industry Association based in Singapore, but we also have national solar associations such as BSW, Bundessolarwirtschaft in Germany, and similar organizations around the world. But we also directly represent solar companies that are active all over the world. So we have Trina Solar, GCL Solar, Jinko Solar, SMA, these kinds of companies that make the core products that make a solar PV system. And we really represent the whole value chain. So the value chain starts with the raw polysilicon, the silicon and the polysilicon, then obviously the manufacturing of the modules, the inverters and so on, developing the projects, whether they be large projects or small projects, and then also operating those projects, and the all-important of recycling the solar panels at the end of their life, which of course is a very small market now, but we know that in 10, 20 years, this is going to be a big business as well.
So you mean previously we had one association, solar association, one country, another association, another country. And there was no body to gather all the voices together and define a target or a slogan, and also to lobby with something like IRENA.
Exactly. So we were created in 2015 in Paris when the Paris Agreement on Climate Change was created.
COP21, yes?
COP21 in 2015 in Paris. And that is where the Global Solar Council was born, because it was decided that the global solar PV industry had to speak with one voice at the United Nations COPs, COP21, COP22, last year was COP28 in Dubai. This year we are going to Baku in Azerbaijan for COP29, but also at the International Renewable Energy Agency, which is why we are here in Abu Dhabi this week, also the International Energy Agency in Paris, also the G20, the G7, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the World Trade Organization.
There is representatives
from... It is our job
Sure.
to represent the solar industry and give evidence from the solar industry and represents the interests of the solar industry in all of those global policy making systems.
Yeah, that's very, very important, I think. And after that, in COP27, wind and solar came together. Could you please explain for us?
That's right. So we decided it was really important to represent all renewable energies. And so at COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, we really came together and showed that wind and solar working together. And then last year, the Global Renewables Alliance was created. I am also vice chair of the Global Renewables Alliance, representing all renewables technologies and being able to speak as one voice as the global renewables sector: wind, solar, geothermal, hydro, storage, all types of storage, green hydrogen, and one more, and so really bringing together all of those renewables with the aim to double down on energy efficiency and to triple renewable energy deployment, triple up and double down. And so we secured for the first time ever a global renewables target at COP28 in Dubai, here in the United Arab Emirates, which we're now working on implementation on, because the slogan for the renewables industry now is time for action. And I can tell you, if you look at the forecast for renewables for the next 5-10 years, solar PV is going to play a huge role, because solar PV is fast to deploy, is very cheap, and so we are really saying that solar can deliver, and some of the most ambitious industry forecasts are that we can get to 8 terawatts of total installed capacity just of solar by 2030.
That was also very interesting, because previous years the COPs actually were being held or have been held already, but the people of the society, the people of the countries didn't hear a clear target, and they didn't sense it, they didn't have feeling with it. But after Global Solar Council was founded and later Global Renewables Alliance, and with you and your colleagues' effort, that slogan, double down, triple up, and after you promote it, it was very popular.
Yeah, because it's simple, right?
Simple,
we take all of the renewables in the world and we're going to triple it by the end of the decade. But you know, it's also about working on what we need to do in order to make it as
the next phase
easy as possible, exactly, for it to build solar PV plants, large and small. So that's why we are working on finance. We need to make it easy to invest in these projects.
A question, Sonia. First, it was a slogan, double down, triple up.
Yeah.
In the COP28 a few months ago.
In Dubai.
In Dubai. And after that, we have a new slogan,
yes?
What is it?
The new slogan for all the renewables is time for action. Because now we have the global target and now
everybody accepted it?
Absolutely.
IRENA?
All 190 countries around the world accepted the new target for the tripling of renewable energy and the doubling of energy efficiency.
Until 2030.
Until 2030.
Can you give a number? What does it mean, triple up?
Absolutely. So roughly it means about 11 terawatts of total installed capacity for all renewable technologies by 2030.
11,000 gigawatts, yeah?
11,000 gigawatts.
And what is now?
Now, roughly, we are at about 3 terawatt or 3,000 gigawatts. So roughly, you know, a tripling, a bit more actually. But solar will play a huge role in that, right? So we need to start thinking about an energy system that has solar at its heart, and then we think about what technologies we need around that in order to you know, be able to create an energy system.
And Sonia, you said first this is slogan, double down, triple up. Everybody agreed.
Yeah.
And then you thought that what is the next phase?
The next phase.
Time for action. What do you mean? Action for government or for what?
Yeah, exactly.
In which fields?
So for all renewable technologies, we need to act in 4 different ways. We need to make sure the finance is there to finance this huge rollout of renewables to get to those 11,000 gigawatts. We need to make sure that the grid is able to accept that electricity, because in many countries,
the grid is not ready.
The grid is not ready. The grid does not have capacity to take the electricity. We need to work on supply chains to make sure that the supply chains are there in order
There's enough product and supply chain.
Exactly, product. In solar, obviously, that is well established, but we obviously all technologies need it. And then we need to also work on permitting. So making sure that the process for getting a renewable project approved,
land, grid connection permit,
land,
everything.
grid, building permit is quick and easy everywhere in the world, because that is what really makes the difference between one market and another. It's the cost of finance, it's the simplicity of the permitting, and it's the grid. In solar, we also have more things to do that we need to do just for solar. We need to standardize the way we do projects and our contracts to make it easier to invest in solar. And we need to standardize the way we train our people, our technicians, the people who build solar projects. Which is why we have launched the Solar Training Standardization Initiative as the Global Solar Council.
What was the name? Could you please repeat?
Solar Training Standardization Initiative, where we want to take the system that's been established for training, certification and standardization in wind and copy it for solar. Because at the moment, everyone is duplicating each other, is doing their own training, and if we create a global system, we will save money, we will save time, and we will make it easier to build solar projects.
I have an example for that. For example, in 2015 or 16, we had a company, European company, as our part, and when we wanted to develop a wind farm, we tried to install MetMast, but they said the MetMast should be standardized globally, because the finance will come out of the country. So they taught us, they showed us the way that it should be done like this, and then a consulting company, a third party, should come, visit, check, write installation report. The sensors should be calibrated by a good company. And that makes the way, or that paves the way for international banks to do the due diligence more simply,
exactly,
accept the project and finance it.
And that's a big part of what we want to do at the Global Solar Council.
For solar projects.
Is for solar, is standardize the due diligence processes, standardize the technical processes, so that the technical advisory firms can go anywhere in the world and easily say this project is good quality, is solid, is bankable, and then it becomes much easier to then build the project and then sell the project in the secondary market, in the second-hand market, if you like, for solar projects around the world.
And Sonia, as I know, you have a background in finance. You have done already some work in finance. And we know that in some countries, one of the problems that renewable energy doesn't get accelerated is the finance. Could you please give us some examples which countries have done a good job in finance?
Absolutely. So first
finance and renewables.
Yes, exactly. So first of all, the world is already investing more than $1 billion per day in solar around the world. Per day. $1 billion US per day. So the solar revolution around the world is happening, and investors are putting huge amounts of money into it. You have to bear in mind that solar projects are smaller than other technologies, so it's a large number of smaller technologies. It's not so big, a large number of smaller projects, but we're already investing a huge amount. That's just in projects. If you then look at the investment that's going into manufacturing, of course, it's even more. So this is a boom industry around the world. What do we need to do in order to finance solar projects? We need to think about the 4 different markets for solar projects.
Different markets.
Yeah,
because they have different
segments.
needs, requirements.
4 different types of solar. The first is off-grid solar in parts of the world that don't have any electricity, right? Sub-Saharan Africa, parts of Southeast Asia, islands, and so on.
They need some specific finance.
They have specific
requirements.
Yeah, and there, Tanzania has been very good at creating a system to make it easy to invest in solar that is completely not connected to the grid. Then you have residential solar, household solar. So putting solar on the roof of the house of a normal family, and they then consume that power, called self-consumption. There, if you look at the system, for example, in America, in the USA, where they've developed a system where a company can rent the roof of a household,
leasing
system, and then finance the project and then sell the electricity to that family, that makes it much easier for many more houses to go solar, right? So that's the solar leasing example from USA. And you need to make sure there that mortgage providers are happy with it and that the building regulations fit with it. So that's the challenge there. For commercial and industrial rooftop solar, there it's obviously, first of all, you have to make sure that the electricity price paid by commercial and industrial consumers, power consumers, is of a good level to make solar competitive. If it is too low, like in some countries, and then you have to reform the electricity market to make solar competitive.
And do you know a good country, good example?
A good example? Well, I mean, if you look at the reforms that the EU has been through in terms of market liberalization, that is often taken as
and for commercial industry?
Commercial and industrial, yes. No, there are lots of good examples. Many. To be honest, commercial and industrial rooftop solar is happening very fast in sub-Saharan Africa as well. But we're seeing a lot also in the UK, where power prices mean that it's very interesting, and so on. So that's for commercial and industrial rooftop solar. But the important thing about commercial industrial rooftop solar is that you have to make it possible for big factories to put solar on some land next to the factory and consume it via a wire. And there, for example, I know the UK is very good at that, and then it becomes very easy and interesting for that.
For financing.
Then finally you have utility scale solar, exactly. And there are different things that you need to think about. So a lot of governments have tender processes, right? Where they ask for a certain number of gigawatts of solar or renewables to be built. And then there is a competition for who can provide it cheapest. So that's the tender processing. And I know that the International Finance Corporation has done a lot of great work with the Scaling Solar program in Zambia, in Uzbekistan, in Senegal, to try and create these kinds of tenders in lots of countries around the world.
And they're already somehow standardized. And
Yes.
the finance is available.
Under the Scaling Solar program, they are standardized and the finance is available. Then you also need to remember that another big driver of demand for large-scale utility scale solar is actually big global companies who consume a lot of power and who want to buy all their power from renewables. So that is the corporate power purchase agreement market, the corporate PPA market, exactly. And there you need to make sure that all the different types of corporate PPA business models are possible in order to incentivize investment from those companies into those projects.
There should be a lot of legal issues in those contracts.
A lot of
long-term
legal issues.
PPA
Exactly.
between two private sector.
That is particularly interesting in countries where there is a lot of big corporate demand, and especially data centers, because data centers consume a lot of power. And then for large-scale utility-scale solar, it's really about making it possible to bundle large-scale projects into big portfolios, and then for big investment funds.
Make it interesting for biggest investment
Exactly,
funds.
to really be able to put billions into these solar portfolios. So that's why we're seeing more and more listed solar funds on stock markets. So examples include Next Energy Solar Fund, Bluefield Solar Fund, Foresight Solar Fund, and so on, where it's listed on a stock market. They're able to raise capital that way, and then invest that money into large-scale utility-scale projects.
Sonia, so the renewable energy in a lot of countries have their own associations, national level. Then from a few years ago, we had regional associations like MESIA or Solar Europe. And after that, we have Global Solar Council, a very good work in 2015, One Voice for Solar Industry. And then we have in COP 27, as you said, we had Global Renewables Alliance. And now we are very happy to have One Voice for Renewable Energy.
Yeah.
And the campaign was very successful,
Yeah.
double down, triple up. And what do you see the IRENA Assembly, or do we have any target there, or what is our next phase? What do you see the future?
Yeah, so the next phase is about making sure that the finance is there to deliver, but not just any finance, low-cost finance, right? Because it is the cost of finance that determines whether these projects are economic. So we need to make sure that we have low-cost finance. We need a good $10 trillion to deliver the targets, but it needs to be low-cost finance in every part of the world. And this is important because in some countries you may be able to get finance these days at 3 or 4 or 5% cost of capital, but weighted average cost of capital. But in other countries it may be 15 or 20%. We need to make sure that no country is left behind in the global solar revolution and the global renewables revolution, the global energy transition. And for that, we need to work with the World Bank, with other multilateral development banks, to make sure that we bring down the cost of financing renewables in every part of the world. And for that, we need to be talking about how we can solve the currency risks, how we can solve the policy risks, how we can solve the risk of the off-taker, the creditworthiness of the off-taker, of what happens in that scenario if the off-taker no longer exists.
Okay, very good.
So that's what we're working on in terms of finance.
I have one more question. What do you see the UK solar market in the future?
Absolutely. So I live in London in the UK, and in the UK we've had a very bumpy ride in terms of solar, with different subsidies and feed-in tariffs and so on. But now the outlook is very stable. We have a target of 70 gigawatts, and it's
70
gigawatts, 70. And
on what time?
By the 2030 or 2035. And it is a very good example of a very good electricity market design and a very stable policy regime, which means that the cost of finance for solar is very low. But you know, at the Global Solar Council, we really represent the solar industry all over the world. We have people in our team in New York, in India, in Europe, in China, all over. And so we are really working on what we can do at global level to support all of those markets around the world. I myself, I am from the Netherlands, from New Zealand, from South Africa, so I can deal with a lot of cultures around the world as well. And I am really keen to make sure that we bring together the European industry, the Chinese industry, the Asian industry, the American industry,
to have
really
one
voice for the whole of the global solar sector, and make sure that we are constantly sharing the best ideas and the best practice from one country to another.
And if you let me, because we are starting this podcast, and it's the first episode. Thank you for joining us. I would like to thank some people, like people who wrote the first time the Renewable Energy Act in Germany. Hans-Josef Fell from Green Party, together with Hermann Schier from SPD party in Germany, in Bundestag Parliament. They sit together and wrote the first Renewable Energy Act maybe in Europe. And it was beginning of the booth for solar or renewable energy. And actually Hermann Schier was somehow one of the initiatives to found the IRENA, International Renewable Energy Agency. And I think it's good that we remind them,
the history.
People before us.
That's right. And you know, if you look at the history of solar and of renewables, the Germans saw an opportunity, created the feed-in tariff, and then and started the solar boom. And then of course China came in and could provide huge economies of scale to manufacturing, which brought the cost down by 90%, right?
Yeah.
And so we have so much to thank to those two countries, as well as Spain and Italy and many other countries around the world, who really saw the opportunity and went for it.
In the difficult time that the price was high.
Absolutely, in the beginning the price was high. But the amazing thing about solar is that it is a semiconductor technology where the more you make, the cheaper it becomes. And that is why the price of solar has come down 90% over the last 10 plus years, and why countries who are not installing solar in a big way are going to be countries who are going to be missing out in terms of the economic benefits in the years to come. Because solar is now the cheapest way of generating electricity, as long as the finance is cheap. And if you look at the forecast, it is going to become the main source of electricity worldwide. So we need every country to spot that, to see that opportunity, and to create a plan for how they're going to also, increase the deployment of solar in their country and in their electricity
Make a lot of
market.
jobs, energy, development, everything.
Solar is the most jobs-rich of all the renewables and energy technologies. Why? Because every solar panel has to be installed by a pair of human hands.
Maintained and...
Exactly. And there are 5 million people around the world working in solar. But they're not in one place, they're everywhere. right?
Because the sun is everywhere.
Because the sun is everywhere, and because it is fundamentally such a distributed technology, right? No big power stations anymore. No, we're talking about solar on people's houses, on people's businesses, on
That's
land.
very interesting.
Also floating on reservoirs, on water. And so it is also about completely changing the way we generate electricity and creating a completely decentralized electricity system, and then a clean energy system that is also more resilient to potential disasters, shocks, impacts, climate change impacts, natural disasters.
And also, Sonia, it brings with itself a lot of startups, new companies, new people who work for like blockchain, trading systems, artificial intelligence, maintaining with maintenance, with a lot of things. I have seen a lot of accelerators and startups in Berlin, Germany,
Yeah.
who are active in renewable energy.
Yeah.
And also solar with batteries,
Yeah.
home batteries,
Yeah.
car batteries,
Yeah.
storage, a lot of a new world. That's a new world.
You know, digitalization of energy is really important for us because we need to manage the solar and the other technologies in individual buildings. But we also are seeing the use of blockchain. For example, we have a member called Sun Contract who sell individual solar panels in a big solar farm, a big utility scale solar.
So something like a
installation.
crowdfunding.
Exactly, and he sells individual solar panels via blockchain, via non-fungible tokens, NFTs, so that normal people like you or me can buy a solar
Some
panel
share on
in
power
Slovenia
plants.
and have our solar panel making money for us 24/7.
It's also very good for rural places, like some
Absolutely.
cooperates, corporate companies that bring the rural people together.
Yeah,
They put money together and build a wind farm or a wind turbine or something.
that's called community solar, and we're seeing a lot of communities come together to do that on a building or on a solar farm. Exactly.
So Sonia, there are lots to say, but because the time is limited, we also printed a placard.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the placard that we took photo. Maybe I can.
Yeah, we will find it.
Yeah, put the placard later on the video.
Double down,
Double down,
triple up,
triple
and
up.
time for action.
Yeah, everybody. It's a very good and clear slogan that everybody understands. So thank you for your time. I
Thank
hope
you.
every good thing for you, GSC, Global Solar Council, and Global Renewable Alliance.
And thank you, Mohammed, for all the work you do to support the solar and the renewables industry.
Yeah, solar is for everybody, every country. Yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you.
And here we
Yeah,
are.
it's good. So it's in the video. We can also have this slogan there.
Double down, triple up, and time for action.
Yeah, exactly.